Hello, it is July 10th, 2026, and it's time for the weekly word. And the weekly word is distraction. So there's a battle going on every minute of every day, and you're involved. It's specific to you. It's the battle for your attention. And the greatest danger in this battle is distraction. And sometimes the most dangerous thing about danger is not recognizing when it's right in front of you. Our key scripture is Matthew chapter 14 and verse 30. It says, "But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, 'Lord, save me.'" So, what's going on here? Well, for the starters, it's the middle of the night. And Peter and some of the disciples, they're in a boat a long ways from land. The boat's being beaten by the waves. So they're going up and down and back and forth and not being able to make forward progress, getting nowhere. And then in the middle of this battle with the wind, they're distracted by what they think is a ghost. Until he speaks, "Don't be afraid," and they realize it's actually Jesus. So Peter asked Jesus, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." Then Peter gets out and walks on the water. It was a huge miracle of faith. Here he was in the middle of a life-threatening event, and suddenly Peter's walking on the water, but just as quickly, suddenly he was distracted and he starts going under. Again, our scripture, Matthew 14:30, "But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, 'Lord, save me.'" Well, if this could happen to good old Peter right in the presence of Jesus, something tells me it could happen to me or it could happen to you. If this could happen in a time of crisis when people are generally laser focused, then it can happen anytime. And what's amazing is the greatest danger was not the actual situation or circumstance that was happening around him, it was the distraction, specifically the distraction that caused him to take his eyes off Jesus. So, the definition of a distraction is to lose focus, it's to look away, to be preoccupied, to be diverted, to be unable to concentrate, or to drag around mentally, which I think is a really good picture in my mind. And again, the amazing thing is that distraction isn't just something for people who have nothing better to do. Distraction can come at some of the busiest times in our lives. And like driving a car, the faster you go, the less time it takes for distractions to really turn things upside down. So thankfully, scripture has a beautiful contrast to all this distraction in Psalm 121. 121 is called a song of ascents, means to go up, because in the Old Testament, 3 times a year, the people of God would appear before him at the temple in Jerusalem. And as they made their journey, it was uphill as they approached the Temple Mount. So Psalms 121 starts out, "I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth." So they were walking up to Jerusalem. They were lifting up their eyes as they approached the mount, but they were unknowingly enacting out a drama, a picture of something much bigger, a picture of God's people lifting up their eyes to him and drawing close. Psalms 123 is another one of these psalms. It says, "To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, till he has mercy on us." So as they were approaching Jerusalem and lifting up their eyes, it wasn't just about a building or a temple. They were looking to God himself. They were keeping their eyes on him. It's about faith versus fear. And it's a battle for our eyes. And whatever wins the battle of our eyes is generally winning the battle for our attention. There's lots of scriptures on this in the Bible. Micah 7:7. But as for me, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. So it's about keeping our eyes on Jesus. And it's not always a matter of good versus bad, but it's more a matter of keeping the main thing the main thing. Because sometimes even good things can be a distraction. Luke 10 is a classic example of this. Jesus had come to the house of his friends to spend some time with them. And verse 40 picks up, but Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and you're troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. It says Martha was distracted with much serving. And again, the thing that jumps out about this is that Martha was doing good, healthy things, necessary things. But in that moment, she was distracted from the best thing. Jesus was right there in her house, and she was missing it. She had the opportunity of a lifetime to just sit down and talk to him, but she was distracted. So distraction is a trick that Satan uses to get our eyes off of God. And it's interesting to me because the whole basis of magic tricks is deception, to lead you to believe that something's going on here when really it's going on over there. The whole basis for these is distraction, getting you to focus on the wrong thing. So distraction brings deception. Distraction robs us of our peace. It's interesting to notice that in the story of Peter walking on the water and starting to sink, that when Peter got his eyes back on Jesus, not only was he saved, but there was peace. So, in conclusion, I just want to encourage you this week, be aware, because our greatest danger is not whatever storm or situation is clawing for all of our attention. Our greatest danger is taking our eyes off Jesus. And my prayer is that we're not so distracted by the circumstances of life that we don't recognize Jesus when he's there in front of us, and that we don't get so distracted by the wind and the waves that we mistakenly take our eyes off him. And I want to encourage you that even if you find yourself sinking, remember that, like Peter, it's never too late to cry out, Lord, save me. So God bless you. Have a wonderful week.